Morant with a running start. Elevate! Dunks! Oh my goodness! Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance. Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies did not upset the Thunder in game one of their 8-versus-1 series. No, actually, they lost horribly in spectacular fashion. The Grizzlies suffered one of the biggest defeats in playoff history. They got drubbed by 51 points. The good news, it's only one game and nobody got hurt. The bad news, of course, one of the worst defeats ever, a complete humiliation and beatdown. So there's a lot to go over from this game. Okay, maybe not that much to go over, but there are some interesting, intriguing, and unique stats due to the nature of the blowout. So I'm going to go over all of it. Before I do, just a reminder that despite this ugly first loss in the series, we're still having a watch party on Tuesday. Come out to Noble's Beer Hall in Nashville, Tennessee for the early tip. This is Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Come watch the Grizzlies with other Grizzlies fans. The earlier tip, maybe grab some dinner over at Noble's. I will be there giving away Grizzlies prizes. It will be a fun time. Come cheer for the Grizzlies on Tuesday. This is Tuesday, April 22nd, 6:30 p.m. for Grizzlies Thunder Game 2. Okay. One of these two teams had a week off and was a dominant number 1 seed, and it was plainly apparent. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies had to qualify for the playoffs late on Friday night, then travel on Saturday, then play an early tip on Sunday. It's not surprising the Thunder were fresher and blew the Grizzlies out. Now, the scope of the blowout, well, that part, of course, is surprising. And honestly, it started pretty good. I mean, let's just say the first bucket for the Grizzlies, it was a second chance opportunity. And I was thinking, I mean, everyone was thinking, these were the stats for these two teams as they matched up. One of the Grizzlies' advantages was probably going to be offensive rebounding and second chance scoring. And so we saw it. Zach Edey gets his hand on a rebound. The Grizzlies control it. Desmond Bane hits a layup. They score. Good. In the next possession, they score again. They're up 4-0. And after that, it became one of those rock fight playoff games where no one is really scoring that easily. This is what I'm accustomed to. This is what the playoffs are all about. This is the grit and grind stuff. This is the in the mud nature of the playoffs. It's a lot of fun. And you think, all right, let's drag them down with us. Of course, there are questions. If you have any question about the Thunder, again, they won 68 games and posted the best point differential in NBA history. But one of the questions about the Thunder, all right, they're not an elite rebounding team. Also, maybe you thought in the postseason, if the game slowed down, would they have enough offensive outlets? Well, hysterical question now after this game one, as everyone but Shea had a good game. I mean, the Grizzlies lost horribly despite Shea doing very, very little. He missed 8 of his first 9 shots. But anyways, the first half of the first quarter, the teams were slogging it out, and the Grizzlies were hanging in there. And maybe even we could complain about the refereeing early in the game. Zach Edey clearly fouled by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on one play. Meanwhile, the Thunder were actually getting to the free throw line. In the first quarter alone, the Thunder had 9 free throw attempts and the Grizzlies only had 1. And actually coming into the game, another one of the stats that you thought might favor the Grizzlies, actually it's free throws. The Grizzlies were better at getting to the line than the Thunder this year. Of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets a lot of headlines for his foul grifting and his ability to get to the free throw line. But overall, as a team, this should have been, you would think, looking at regular season numbers, that should have been advantage Grizzlies. But the score is 15-21. And this is an important score. This is when Ja Morant checks out of the basketball game in the first quarter. It's 15-21 when Ja Morant checks out of the basketball game. The Grizzlies are down. They're having trouble scoring. Now, Ja checks back in for the final possession of the first quarter, 5-second play. No points happened there. Then Ja goes back to the bench to start the second quarter. So into the first quarter, the team is down 32-20. You were down 6 when Ja went out. The Thunder outscored you 11-5 to finish the first quarter. Then the second quarter is the stuff of nightmares. This is the type of run we've seen from the Thunder in the very last matchup, the last matchup of the regular season. The Thunder dropped a 28-3 run on the Grizzlies. This run, I mean, depending how you cut it, you could say it was a 23-2 run. There was a 20-0 run in there. But the Thunder go on this huge run. The Grizzlies cannot score. All of this occurred with Ja Morant not on the court. Or most of it occurred with Ja Morant not on the court. Actually, most of it occurred without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the court. They put in Aaron Wiggins and Alex Caruso and the game was over. But I missed this watching it live. I'm watching it with my kids, Easter early afternoon. Obviously, they lost interest early, but this tidal wave, this massive Thunder avalanche is destroying the Grizzlies. And frankly, when I watched it live, I missed that Ja Morant was out of the game for most of it. Here are the final stats for the time Ja Morant was out of the game in the first half. He was off the court for 7 minutes in the first half. All those 7 minutes were in a row. The Grizzlies were outscored 30-7 in those 7 minutes. Ja Morant checked out in the first quarter, and the Grizzlies were losing 15-21. When Ja Morant came back in the second quarter, this is 4 minutes into the second quarter. Ja's going to play the final 8 minutes of the half. When Ja checked back in with 8 minutes to go in the first half, the score was 51-22. He left the game down 6, came back down 29. Now, I don't know if this was a huge coaching error. I mean, you think Ja Morant playing 17 minutes in a first half, that's fine. That sets him up for ending the game, you would guess, for 37, 38 minutes if he's going to play 20 or 21 minutes of a second half if it's a close basketball game. Even when Ja Morant was on the bench at the start of the second quarter, you would think the lineup they put out there was basically the best lineup they could muster with no Ja Morant. It was Scottie Pippen Jr., Desmond Bane, John Conchar, one of your only veterans who you're playing off the bench, and then Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey. But they got run off the court. And then after that, I think most of the game was how bad is this going to get? Oh, no. Let's hopefully not set the all-time record for the worst playoff loss. And then it became, oh, no. Let's not give up our record 73-point victory over the Thunder for the biggest margin of victory in NBA history. Hopefully the Thunder don't take it from us right here and get to their vengeance. It was absolutely in play. The Thunder got up by 56 multiple times. It was a 32-point deficit at halftime. Of course, that was the biggest deficit the Grizzlies have ever faced at halftime of a playoff game. It was the second biggest deficit for any game, regular season included, the biggest being 33. But I mean, none of that matters because it was a 51-point loss. This was the fifth biggest loss in the history of the playoffs, the third biggest loss since the ABA-NBA merger. The all-time record for worst playoff loss is 58 points. As far as regular season and postseason combined, this was the second worst loss in the history of the Grizzlies. Only the 61-point loss to the Hornets, back when J.B. Bickerstaff was the head coach, was bigger. The numbers overall, there's a lot of horrible ones. They're kind of fun, I guess, now that we maybe get over the sting of defeat. This 51-point loss, it comes on the heels of the Grizzlies losing their last playoff game, Game 6 against the Lakers in 2023. They lost that game by 40. The Grizzlies are the first team in NBA history to lose consecutive playoff games by 40 or more. The previous worst total for consecutive losses in the playoffs was 79 points. The Grizzlies, in their last 2 playoff games, outscored by 91. The plus-minus, of course, is going to look horrible for the Grizzlies players. Notably, Desmond Bane set the worst plus-minus ever recorded in a playoff game in the play-by-play era. That goes back to 1996-97. Desmond, unfortunately, was a minus 51 when he was on the court. Zach Edey, who had all of these great net rating numbers since Isolo became head coach, Zach Edey posted a negative 90 net rating in this game. He was minus 38 in 19 minutes, outscored by 38 points in the 19 minutes he played. Basically got yanked a few minutes into the second half. That is the worst plus minus for any player playing 20 minutes or less in a playoff game. Now, I think if you're a Grizzlies fan, yes, you say it was a bad situation to be in, being at a rest disadvantage against a superior team. But there are also maybe other things I'm more worried about than the 51-point game. I mean, maybe you say that's bad enough, but you got basically nothing from most of your roster. I thought Ja Morant looked like he was moving at like 80% most of the time. Maybe that was self-preservation. When I rewatched a lot of the game, that's when I noticed, actually, most of the horribleness occurred when Ja Morant actually wasn't in the game. Of course, you still fell down by 35. You still had a negative plus minus massively, but a lot of the damage was done when they were outscored by 23 points with him off the court in the first half. But you look at the game of Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. only scored 4 points. This is the lowest scoring playoff game of his career. In the first half, when it mattered, he had 2 points, 1 rebound, and 3 turnovers. That is inexcusable and just, frankly, it's impossibly bad for a player that I've been a huge advocate for, a player who still might make an all-NBA team. That is just an atrocious game. And what's, I think, maybe more upsetting is this might arguably be a pattern for Jaren Jackson Jr. in the postseason. In Jaren's last 12 playoff games, in 9 of them, he has shot 33% or worse. He's laid an egg offensively in 9 of the Grizzlies' last 12 playoff games. His career field goal percentage in the playoffs is now 38.9%. His career field goal percentage in the regular season is 47%. He's 8 percentage points worse from the field in the playoffs. But I'm talking the series against the Lakers in 2023, the series against the Warriors in 2022, and now this game 1 against the Thunder. We're talking about a ton of miserable shooting games. Like, he was good. Again, game 1 against the Warriors. We're going way back. Game 1 against the Warriors in 2022. He had a huge game. Game 2, he was 3 for 14. Game 3, 4 for 12. Game 4, 7 for 21. Game 5 was a blowout win. He was 6 for 10. In the Game 6 elimination game, Jaren was 5 for 19 from the field. You go to the Lakers series. In 2023, he had a huge Game 1. Rest of the series, he went 5 for 12, 4 for 12, 5 for 15, 5 for 11, 3 for 12. That was in the 40-point loss in Game 6, where he was a minus 28. And then fast forward to Sunday, he was 2 for 13 from the field, a minus 36. So Jaren in his last 2 playoff games is a combined minus 64 in plus minus. Jaren went 2 for 13 from the field for the game, scored 4 points, had 3 turnovers. Then there's Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane did not score after the first quarter. He missed his final 6 shots. He was 3 for 12. Meanwhile, Ja was 6 for 17, meaning your big 3 was 11 for 42 from the field. And then there's the supporting cast. What supporting cast, you might say? Well, Marvin Bagley showed up. Huge game for the bag man. Marvin Bagley, 8 for 8 from the field. He's the 20th player in NBA history to go 8 for 8 or better from the field in a playoff game. It's the most makes in Grizzlies franchise history without a miss in a playoff game. The previous record was JaMychal Green, who went 5 for 5 in a playoff game. Marvin Bagley providing a spark off the bench. Also with the half quarter to cut it to 49 going into the fourth quarter. I love Marvin Bagley making this shot from behind half court. It is tied for the longest made shot in Grizzlies playoff history, according to the play-by-play data. However, when I look at the shot it's tied with, which was a Ja Morant half quarter against the Warriors, Marvin Bagley's shot is clearly from further away. So maybe they will adjust that. But Marvin Bagley, the one guy who showed up, 8 for 8, was effective, active on the glass, was good at finishing, obviously, every opportunity he got. He probably is going to get a lot more playing time because, like, Zach Edey was, I think we could go to borderline unplayable. They pulled him off the court. When the Thunder started the second half on a 10-0 run, they pulled him off the court. His overall stats, they're roughly okay, like he does, because he had 4 points and 9 rebounds in his 19 minutes. But again, they were outscored by 38. 31 points of that was the second quarter and the third quarter. They were outscored by 31 points in just about, 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes of playing time. Zach Edey is going to, of course, have issue in these two-man games trying to guard Shea and Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein lit him up on all the floaters. And then on the offensive end, even when Zach Edey got the ball, wasn't quick enough, wasn't decisive enough to get his shot off. He got blocked at the rim multiple times. So a rough first playoff game from Zach Edey. Maybe he can bounce back. Maybe they veer away from Zach Edey. Maybe it is more Marvin Bagley minutes. But, it doesn't matter what Edey does if Ja and Jaren and Desmond all struggle so badly. Like, Desmond Bane had a lot of open shots. Okay, the Grizzlies could not generate open looks. The defense of the Thunder absolutely swallowed them up, gave no advantages for the Grizzlies. They could not get out in transition. We knew coming in, okay, the Thunder are the best transition defense in the NBA. The Grizzlies didn't have a fast break point in the first half. I don't think they got one, maybe not to the fourth quarter. Maybe it was the third quarter. But the Grizzlies couldn't get any fast break points, no opportunities in transition. The advantage that would point to the Grizzlies was the rebounding. Nope, the Thunder got the second chance points. The Grizzlies weren't getting rebounds like you would need. And then the known problems. All right, the Thunder are the best at forcing turnovers. The Grizzlies are very bad at turnovers. Yeah, that was an issue. Lots of turnovers. Scottie Pippen Jr. in his first playoff game, very forgettable. He had 3 turnovers. I think all of them led to breakaway dunks. He missed his final 8 shots, made his first jumper in the lane, then missed his next 8 shots to finish 1 for 9 from the field. So Pippen and Edey both with very miserable playoff debuts. And then the bench, beyond Bagley, all right, Aldama, 19 minutes, had 5 points. Conchar destroyed his great plus-minus since Isolo became head coach. He was outscored by 28 points in his 25 minutes. He mustered 2 points and 3 rebounds in that playing time. After they benched Zach Edey, then Vince Williams Jr. got an opportunity in the third quarter. At least Vince made like a hustle play. I mean, this was a game where when someone made any hustle play, you were like, oh, nice. Cool. Maybe Vince will get a shot in game 2. In the fourth quarter in garbage time, Luke Kennard finally got in. Luke Kennard, Jay Huff, Lamar Stevens, and John Conchar played all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter. G.G. Jackson did not play because he was out for personal reasons. So the G.G. Jackson saga continues. Don't know what that's about. Hope everything's okay with G&G. But a huge thank you to the players who did play in the fourth quarter for keeping this from not being a record-setting blowout, for not letting the Thunder win by 73. Anyways, let's actually take a quick break. I've got a few more stats to go over, and then hopefully we can think up some kind of pick-me-up heading into game 2. We'll do that right after this short break. Okay, a few more bits of general stats and trivia. This is the fourth time the Grizzlies and Thunder have faced each other in the playoffs. So maybe some familiarity breeds contempt here, although obviously the rosters are totally different from any other postseason matchup between these two franchises. The Grizzlies had actually won the last 2 times. They were the 8th seed in game 1. They beat the Jazz in 2021. And then, of course, back in, was it 2011, when they were the 8th seed and upset the Spurs, who were the 1 seed. This is not great. The Grizzlies have now lost 10 straight games overall to the Thunder. In the 5 games they've lost to the Thunder this year, they've lost by a total of 126 points. By the way, in those 10 straight losses to the Thunder, only 2 of them were by single digits. The Grizzlies obviously struggled to shoot in this basketball game. I mean, the bottom line, you'd say they didn't take care of the basketball, which was a key in this series, in this matchup. And then they weren't able to generate open looks. They couldn't get the advantage on the Thunder's really good defense. But even when they did generate open looks, they bricked them. In just the first half, they only made 2 3-pointers. They only made 6 3-pointers for the game, and one of them was Marvin Bagley from 50 feet. But in the first half, they were 2 for 18 on 3-pointers. And then they were just 2 for 11 on 2-pointers that weren't right at the rim. So basically any jump shot, they shot like 13% on jump shots in the first half. It's not really workable. I pointed out that Desmond Bane posted the worst playoff plus-minus in a single game since 1996-97 when the stats were kept. Also, fun bit of trivia, he's also tied for the best plus-minus in a game in playoff history. He had a plus 46 in a blowout over the Warriors. The adjustments for the Grizzlies, I mean, play harder, play better are probably number 1. I did notice a lot of times the Grizzlies had trouble getting back on defense. Like if Scottie Pippen Jr. or Ja Morant drove towards the basket, I think this might have been any of the guards. If they drove towards the basket, no one rotated back to get back on defense. The Thunder got an uncomfortable number of breakaway dunks, it felt like. So, I mean, just having whoever is on the perimeter, if your guard drives, you gotta rotate to get back on defense. I know they offensive rebound a lot, and that is supposed to be one of the strengths of the Grizzlies, but it did feel like they were giving up a lot of easy points there. I wonder if they will, try some more aggressive junk defenses to try to slow down the offensive attack of the Thunder. I do think they were purposely leaving some guys wide open. Like Lou Dort the broadcast team on ABC was laughing about how wide open Lou Dort was the entire third quarter. I think that might have been on purpose and wasn't bad execution / bad effort, but I'm not smart enough to know the difference, I guess, on that play. I think they're going to make some calculated gambles as far as the players they leave open. Will they get more creative? Will they run some zones or box and one type things to just try to shake up the Thunder offensive attack? With the lack of shooting, could we see more Luke Kennard? Could we see more Santi Aldama? I don't really know. Those guys have not really been playing that well. Luke has been a mess basically for a while now. Both of those guys, weirdly, are shooting 33% from three since the All-Star break. So I don't really know what's up with them. I mean, again, maybe more Marvin Bagley. After the game, Tomas Isalo compared Bagley's minutes to being some replication of what Brandon Clark used to give. So just that activity, a little bit of energy from your big, even if he isn't a great defender, maybe that's a better option than some of the other things they were doing. Maybe it's a better option than Zach Edey. Can the Grizzlies survive the Zach Edey minutes? Can Zach's rebounding be enough of a weapon that you're okay with the sacrifices on the defensive end, trying to guard ball handlers and any two-man actions? I'm not sure about that. Can they play their main guys more minutes? Can Jaren Jackson Jr. have more of an impact on the game? We've chronicled how Jaren's scoring has been down since the All-Star break. Can they somehow get him more involved in the offense, and can Jaren be more effective? A lot of the shots Jaren missed, they were shots you expect him to make. And I don't know if this is a specific thing. Maybe there is context for all of these bad Jaren Jackson Jr. numbers in the postseason, but I'm getting concerned that maybe he's a guy, when the lights are the brightest, isn't up to it. He maybe gets jittery for the postseason on the offensive end, because these shooting numbers are, they're quite bad. Again, this is a guy who I think fairly should be an all-NBA player. He was third in the NBA. Reminder, he was third in the NBA in combined steals and blocks per game, while also being eighth in the NBA in points per minute. He was elite at scoring and also in the conversation for most of the year for Defensive Player of the Year, in the conversation for an all-defense team, but was also carrying a heavy offensive burden and excelling at it. And we're just not seeing it. And I know we harp on his rebounding some, but I don't even care about the rebounding. We need points. We need Jaren to be able to score. Like Desmond, I assume, is going to bounce back. Desmond keeps having these huge games. Not as worried about Desmond. If Ja is healthy, and that's another question. He looked superb in that first half against the Mavericks, and they were talking about him getting his second injection. I don't know if he can get any more injections. I don't know if he had one before this game, if he was limited physically. He mostly looked himself, but again, I thought it looked like it was in cruise control for a while. He missed an easy floater. He had an opportunity maybe to posterize the Thunder and didn't make the shot, maybe tried to draw some contact. Again, maybe it was self-preservation. The game was over basically after the first 15 minutes. But I don't know. I don't really have a lot of answers, but I did at least hopefully come up with some illuminating stats that you'd never heard before. Hopefully for the next game, we have fewer stats that we've never heard before. Or maybe there are things like Desmond Bane made an NBA record 13 3-pointers in a playoff game. But anyways, Tuesday night, come to Noble's Beer Hall. If you're in Memphis, go to a watch party over there. If you want to go to Oklahoma City and watch the game, more power to you. That makes you a super fan. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. If you want to support my program, if you want to join the listener Slack channel where we commiserated all of Sunday throughout the game and after the game, you can do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right. Hope you guys have a great Monday, possibly a better Monday than you did Sunday, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Go Grizz.